Okay, welcome back everybody. So another little brief history video to do with another castle that me and Richard visited on Sunday, just gone. Now, I will say that I was very limited on what I could film there. There was quite a few people around at certain times, so it made it a bit more difficult for me to do any major kind of filming. Also, it's not as big as Wardour Castle and all that, so there wasn't a huge amount to film, but I tried to get as much footage as I possibly could. Like I said, I'm going to do a brief history like I do normally, and give you a bit of a tour around the village, well, a small tour around the village, like to the church. It was a bit too busy to go into the church and film, but I managed to get some footage from the outside. So now, hope everyone enjoys the video. See you later all, bye bye. In 1373, a knight named Sir John Delamere obtained a royal license to build a fortified tower house on the west bank of Nunney Brook, in the centre of Nunney village. Delamere was a career soldier whose fortress had been made on the battlefields of the 100 Years' War in France. Or his fortress had been made off the battlefield by capturing and ransoming wealthy enemies, which were actually why most soldiers went to war in the first place. I find that quite interesting. By the 13th century, when Sir John decided to build his castle, the war had turned into favour of the French, and many veteran soldiers in England engaged in a spat of castle building, perhaps anticipating that the newly fortified castles would be necessary to counter a French invasion. Such an invasion never took place, with the result that we are left with a large number of late 14th century castles in reasonable condition. Nunney is one of these. As for Sir John, he went on to become the keeper of Old Sarum, Salisbury, and the Sheriff of Somerset. At Nunney, Sir John built a narrow rectangular structure with a circular corner towers surrounded by a wet moat fed by the brook. The moat was set within a larger courtyard encircling by a stone wall on 3 sides and protected by the brook on the 4th side. Entry was across a drawbridge on the north side. The drawbridge has now been replaced now by a modern wooden footbridge. There were probably a number of other buildings within the courtyard, but none of these survived. The castle itself certainly does, and surrounded by its peaceful moat, it presents an almost idyllic picture of a moated medieval castle. Each corner tower was topped by a conical roof, and battlements project outwards around the top of the tower wall. The layout is so narrow on the short side of the rectangle that the corner towers almost meet in the middle. The overall plan of Nunney is very similar to Bastilles in France, which Sir John must have encountered during his military career. The original castle plans included a kitchen on the ground level with storage chambers above. Over the storerooms was a great hall, and above that withdrawing chambers for the lord and his family. A small chapel opened off these private quarters. All the private accommodation chambers are set within the towers. Sometime in the late 16th century, the castle was purchased by Richard Prater, a wealthy London merchant who proceeded to bring the medieval accommodation up to his idea of modern standards, creating a building much more geared towards comfortable living than defence. Sir John Delamere may have built Nunney anticipating fighting off a French siege. Nunney was eventually subject to a siege, but it was not for 270 years after it was built, and it was not from the French but the Parliamentarian army who threatened the defenders. In 1645, the Roundhead army besieged Nunney and its royalist garrison. The royalists held out for only 2 days before surrendering. Parliament decided to slight the castle to make it unsuitable for military use. They did this though the walls were left almost intact, and the result is the ruined shell we see today. Much of the outer shell is still intact, save the north wall. which was damaged during the Civil War siege and eventually collapsed on Christmas Day 1910. Though the castle is now in the care of the English Heritage, it is open to visitors at any reasonable time. So there's a very, very brief history of Nunney Castle. Now, me and Richard visited there Sunday just gone, and I can't tell you how much of an amazingly beautiful place this is. And I'm not just talking about the castle here, I'm talking about the village and the surrounding areas. Just across the road, or just down the road, is an absolutely fantastic church, which you saw in the video. It's such an amazing, peaceful place, and I really, really enjoyed the brief time that we were there. And when I say brief, it was only literally about 20 to 30 minutes. But even still, very, very much enjoyed it. And remember, it is free to go and see this castle. You do not have to pay to go in there. But I highly recommend just walking around the village, taking in the sights and the church. There's like the brook, which is literally just down the road from the castle, where you get to see all these ducks and all that. It's an absolutely amazing place. It really, really is. And I highly recommend anybody going to visit this castle or that surrounding area. Here's some footage of the Walkaround. Alright then everybody, so that's just a very, very short video on the history of Nunney Castle. It's actually really, really cool. It's actually better than I thought it was, or it's better than what it was in the pictures. We will be returning here for an investigation, 100%. It's carrying a vibe, and I want to know what could be haunting here. So yeah, hope everybody enjoyed the video. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Whatever you're doing, please take care, and goodbye.